Welcome to part two of our conversation. If you missed part one, be sure to go to our podcast library and get caught up. Without further ado, please enjoy the rest of our conversation.
What about kids? Do you think that the kids are affected by screen time? Again, when I look at our first aid programs, we don't have a lot of information to support these questions with kids. Like, do they experience I guess, they would experience eye strain. It's just like anyone else, I suppose. But is there something that we could tell people that they should watch for in their little one that's on the computer or on their device? Sorry, I'm dating myself with that language, but they're using their device or screen time a fair amount. Is there something that they should watch for?
Distancing, again, is that whole thing, because kids tend to like to get right on top of things. And the closer you are, the more that lens in your eye has to focus. For the health of the eye and straining out, we would say that you would apply similar things with children. Don't let them be right on top of that iPad. Some early childhood educators might question the value of a lot of screen time. And you hear people they like to limit. That's not from an eye health standpoint, but more of a development standpoint. So that would be a discussion for another day with other types of professionals. So again, it's stressing, dryness, being right on, their nose is right onto that iPad.
And especially at that age, younger age, that brings it even more important for kids to get annual eye examination, to keep an eye on their eyes and making sure they're doing the right thing. Because there are some tools, just like for adults, specific types of lenses that will help reduce some of the stress when they're on the computer or their eyes focusing when they're up close. Again, there are different names for them: near boost, baby bifocal, we've heard in the past before, things like that. They're just, again, tools to help reduce some of the stress. But for that, it is important that these kids get their annual eye examination. And of course, personal opinion as a parent on how much time kids should spend on screens. But that's not for us to tell them.
You know what? I'd like to throw something else out there, and this in some camps is maybe a little bit controversial, not as much as the blue light. Short-sightedness. In the world today, there's a myopia epidemic, short-sightedness. They're finding that eyeballs are growing extra long. The science shows that the more near work you do, because of the way the lens in your eye focuses and the way the muscles pull and distort the overall globe or eyeball, it tends to start elongating. And we see a lot of that through the teenage years, and that seems to be a lot of it. So a lot of doctors are trying to reduce the amount of focusing that these lenses have to do. And they started off with some young children because you can see patterns with children, whether they're going to start becoming short-sighted. So using these types of lenses, like Martin just mentioned, an anti-fatigue lens, or a lens that actually reduces the amount of focusing the lens has to do, they're seeming to find results that the myopia isn't creeping as much. And there's other things doctors are doing, like people who have a propensity to go there with family things and a lot of close work. They might use some drops in the eye, the same drops that you put in a kid's eye so they don't focus during an eye exam. And they're finding some success with that. There's studies about different groups through their teenage years. The more time they study in that, the more myopia that seems to be developing. A little bit of controversy there, but we're seeing more and more of that. We see contact lenses now on the market. There's one supplier, international supplier, that has a lens that's meant for kids, and it has that little baby bifocal built into it to reduce some of the stress of the eye. So it's not just light, but it's actually the development of the eye that they're starting to find that all this close work. Basically, they're saying, we weren't built to get on and do close work all day long. The human body seems more to be, little story I say, get up in the morning with the sun, run around foraging for food all day, only doing a little bit of close work, but focusing at distance quite a bit, and go to bed when the sun goes down. So again, it's all natural light. and it's the majority of your day is focusing at distance or intermediate at whatever. And this has come up through the years. You can see some of the literature where people will say, like from a couple hundred years ago, an ocean voyage seems to reduce some of the fatigue and myopia in the eye. So is that because you're focusing on that way out in the ocean there, and slowly that lens that was maybe not completely relaxing, a lot of distance, who knows? But they have been talking about that particular issue for a long time now. And it shows that when you introduce education to societies, the myopia starts to creep. And there are studies on that, and there's little things in historical writings that allude to that.
Lorne, it's interesting. I just want to touch on that a little bit. You talked about we're not necessarily built for these long-term, all-day looking at a device. You just mentioned and that just brings me to one of my thoughts is in a first aid program, we sometimes will tell people like it's important to take breaks away from the screen, look away, and we even use the tool, if I can call it that, the 20-20-20 tool, where every 20 minutes we should look away or tell people to look away 20 feet away and focus on something for about 20 seconds. Is that still a good recommendation that we should continue to tell people in the first aid program?
Yeah, Martin, you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I mean, we still use it in our office. We even add maybe blink 20 times as well, so you can make it 20-20-20-20. Definitely little
like that.
Like that. It catches people. They remember it a lot easier. And anything that you can remember easier when you're focusing and you're at work, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. I got to think about doing this. It makes it that much easier. Again, everybody needs a break. The same thing. If you're going to be on your knees for, working, you might want to get up for 20 seconds just to give your knees a break. And same thing with the eyes. It's just another working part of your body that needs a break once in a while.
Yeah, and just to add to that, because I have something to add on everything with my personality, just so people realize that your blink is your tear pump. So when you blink, you're pumping the tears. And that's one of the reasons why in the morning when you wake up, sometimes your vision's a little foggy and your eyes are very dry. They've been shut all night. You haven't been blinking to pump the tears through. And that's where historically, we've had contact lens wearers who complain. And when computers really became very popular, we've had more and more complaints, especially during the winter in the areas where we're pumping that dry air. So by blinking, we just keep pumping those tears. So that's where, again, you can add to your every 20 minutes, look away. So that would be good advice, I would think, to give the people you speak to.
Hey, Don, this has been a great conversation so far. I mean, is there any way for listeners to get more information from the Red Cross or from your programs that you could share with us on the podcast today?
Yeah, I think two things. One would be redcross.ca. You can find lots of information on how to access programming, as well as the First Aid app. It's a free download. Go in the App Store or I can't remember the Google or the Android version, but they're available on both platforms. It's a fabulous download. And we're getting lots of great feedback on the app. So those are two things I would love to suggest that people can access more information. I couldn't agree more. It's been a great conversation on how we can sort of improve our first aid program is one thing I'm interested in from you guys. Because again, we want to make sure we get the best advice out there that we can for sure.
Well, it's been great. I'm really hoping we can do this again sometime soon because, there's information coming from both sides there, and that's what we want. That's what we're looking for always, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Right. So I'd like to thank you also from Martin and I and our listeners. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. We will, when we post this on our website and make the podcast available, we will, for everyone's convenience, put links to some of the things you just mentioned. We'll get those links from you. And this way people will be able to use you as a resource. So again, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Great conversation. And like Martin says, hopefully we can do this again soon.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Stay safe. Be well.
Thank you for listening to See What We See with Lorne and Martin. Be sure to follow us across our social media pages so you never miss an update or an episode. You can find us on Twitter at OOA_frontline. On Facebook and LinkedIn, we are Ontario Opticians Association. Follow us on Instagram at Ontario Opticians Association. That's all one word. We look forward to seeing you again on See What We See with Lorne and Martin. Take care and stay safe.